Hi everyone, welcome to this reading. So we are on the carpet today, and I love that we're on the carpet because I like to be chill sometimes in the readings. Ladies are at the vet, so they're not going to be running amok on top of the cards like they normally do, so I can do this. And High Priestess here. Thank you guys for joining me for the High Priestess 3-month glow up for Microhabits. With Microhabits. If you haven't checked it out yet, there was a follow-up video this morning, and in that follow-up video I'm just running you through some things to make sure that you're actually setting micro-habits rather than goals, because I noticed some people are kind of setting up goals. So definitely check that out. And I'm looking at the carpet now and realizing there's a lot of dog spice. My puppies, they don't eat their dog in the dog food bowl. They drag little bits of food out on the carpet, munch it, and then go back for more. So if you happen to notice any puppy spice, just, you know, ignore. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's get into this. I have the deck shuffled and cut. My coffee maker's going in the background, so that's what that monster sound is. Okay, taking a step aside and allowing spirit to pass through me. Opening up to receive information. Okay. So the first card that we have out is the King of Swords. This is kind of interesting because this King of Swords is looking over to the left at a sword. And whenever I have figures looking over to the left in my readings, I always kind of interpret that as looking at the past. And there's this crown on this crow's head, so there's something about our past that has really set us up for the reclamation of our own personal power, maybe even our own self-sovereignty. Here with the throne, this crow is not looking entirely comfortable on that throne, I do have to say. So whoever this message is for, you've probably recently come into a place where you're exhibiting a little bit more personal control or personal power, maybe standing up for yourself a little bit more, and maybe you're not necessarily the most comfortable with that just yet. Now, the sword being over here on the left, it's kind of making me think that we may have a feminine nature internally that is a little protective at this time. So you may not be giving to people quite as much, or you may not be spending time with people who want your time as opposed to people who you want to give them your time, you know what I mean? There seems to be some sort of protective mechanism that's at play here in the amount that we nurture and we take care of others, maybe even in the amount of empathy that we're displaying. And I do think that someone here, you may still be sifting through some past material. It's not that you're being forced to, it's that that's naturally occurring for whoever this message is for. And I do think that this is something that is continuing to provide a basis for growth. I am seeing here that, well, let me go ahead and pull the next card before I talk about that. Okay, we have the Three of Swords. And so part of the thing that we may be looking at still is past heartbreaks, past grievances. Maybe there's some sort of grief or sorrow or shame, even for some people, that we still have to work through and we still have to assess. The interesting thing about the Three of Swords for me is that it is a number 3, right? There is something here going on that has to do with a core wounding. And whenever we talk about a core wounding, this can be something that is really tied into like our core concepts. So I think that the person that this reading is meant for is somebody who is currently working through particular core concepts that have to do with the correct use of energy. So where do I start? Where do others start? How much am I supposed to give? How much do I hold back? How much anger is it appropriate to display? And when should I not display anger? When should I react? When should I respond? So someone's working through all that kind of material. And with this Three of Swords, this is kind of indicating that there may be something that we're hung up on. The reason why I'm saying that is because this crow here is not flying the way that this crow is. This crow feels very left behind. So in this group, who this message is for, there's going to be some sort of past history of giving everything all you've got and then always being the one left behind. right? So this may be something that's coming up for someone right now, is how much do you actually need to invest, and when should you kind of hold back in investing because you don't necessarily want to be giving more than what the other person is giving. This can be in the context of your friendships, this can be in the context of relationships, it can be all of your dynamics, all of your interactions, but someone here is really kind of reassessing the amount of energy that they're giving. Okay. Gonna move these to the top. All right. Then we're taking 3. We have the Magician, we have the Death card, and then we have the Sun. Okay, perfect. I love it. All right, I love this. So here what I'm seeing underneath the past that this crow is looking at, is a high degree of manipulation. The Magician card doesn't always speak to me about that kind of energy all the time, but in this context it does. It's flanked by the Death card and this King of Swords, and so there's an undertone that's going on here. With the Magician, there's a little bit of this manipulation, right? Especially attracting people who maybe they wanted you to see a version of themselves that even they knew wasn't real, or that they wanted to believe was real, you know? And again, what seems to have happened here in the past is over-investing in situations like this, resulting in you being the one that's left behind. Now, the Magician's an interesting character because the Magician isn't really the mature version of his archetype inside of the tarot. The Magician is one of the first cards, actually. So it's at the very beginning of that alchemical journey, the chemical alchemical journey. And when we see the Magician in their true form, in their true refined form, we actually see the card that's the world or the universe. And so the Magician only has one wand. And one of these wands is raised, and the other wand is on the table, right? He actually has 2. But the one that's in his hand is raised. And so this really signifies an imbalance. The individuals that you may have encountered, therefore, in the past, they may have had very imbalanced narratives. So rewriting the narrative to suit them in that true fashion of a manipulator, right? Or even just exerting like domineering sort of qualities. That's what we can sometimes find with that one raised wand. There is something about the process of having encountered these types of people, however, that is vital to your personal growth. So it's being followed by the Death card. And this Death card is really about transformation. The old passes away and the new rises, or the essence of the thing is all that remains. And sometimes that's what we need inside of our lives to really evolve, is we need to go through some sort of experience, or go through many experiences that really strip away, again, going back to something about the core concepts, right? The interesting thing about that is that we have 2 options whenever we have situations in our life that really brush against those core concepts. They can either confirm those core concepts through a confirmation bias, or we can use them to help us grow out of those core concepts. So, for example, a person who has really low self-esteem and they continue developing friendships that keep supporting that low self-esteem, they can fall into the cycle of confirmation bias where their self-esteem keeps getting mirrored back to them, right? So you have low value to this person, they're lying to you, cheating on you, stealing from you, and this just mirrors back to you this low value that you hold. But after going through that so much, what tends to happen is that a person finally says enough. And this is where they kind of sit on their own throne, take their own authority, and then they allow these situations to strip all those old stories away. And what remains is the essence of the person, the true essence of the person. So this is the journey that someone has been on. Now, this is the present. And if you notice the color of that cardstock, that's the only card in this spread so far that has this sort of yellow tinge. So that tells me that there's something going on within the mind space, because yellow is associated with air in Western esotericism, and air is about the mental spheres. Now, inside the Sun card, I find this really pretty because not only does the Sun card really represent an aspect of self that is starting to refine, and it represents success and health and all those things, but it can also represent having gone through in a very emotional period and rising out of the emotional waters into a new form. That has to do with the chemical alchemy that's involved. Again, if you're interested in that, I did cover the Major Arcana Series in the channel memberships. And the membership link is always in the description box. Now, with the Sun card, what this is implying is that someone has kind of gone through that underworld experience, right? They've really gone through their own subconscious, cleared certain things out, maybe even not realizing that they flipped the script on some sort of core belief that they had or some sort of core wounding. And they've allowed the parts of themselves that were unnecessary, that were baggage, to either be integrated or dropped. And I normally don't say that, but that's how it feels, dropped. And what seems to happen here is that in this vital essence that remains, the person has truly seen themselves. Remember, the sun is about illumination. So there's some sort of truth that a person has seen about themselves. There's some sort of strength that a person has seen about themselves. And I really like that the Sun card is touching this Three of Swords, but because it indicates that something is starting to heal. And it's healing in a very dramatic way. So it's quite possible when I see a setup like this that we will have an opportunity that comes in to basically change this story. And when that happens, I want to pull a card, 2 cards, okay, before I pull this card. Yeah, okay, okay, good. I'm not feeling that for the person who this particular message is for, that there's like, sometimes there's that test energy, and it's not because there's anything out there testing us, it's because your subconscious is still spitting out the experiences that we previously accepted, and we just have to train it that we're not accepting those experiences anymore, right? What's happening here, I see, though, is that the experience is changing. We have the Hierophant, and then we have the Empress. This is where we've grown beyond something because something has healed. The lesson has changed. Remember, the crossed keys that are usually present within the bottom of the Hierophant, they represent the power to loose and the power to bind. Someone has closed off the old story and has opened a new door. And in this new door, we have this beautiful Empress energy. Notice how this crow is flying over that forest, and that forest itself is dying. Its leaves are starting to change, and we can even see these fruits of winter over to the right. What's happening here is that what had previously been alive within our life, alive and kicking and working and growing, which is a story that we didn't necessarily want, right? This is something that is now starting to fade away. And as it fades away, it will be dormant for a little while. And as it rests dormant, it plants the seeds for a new beginning. So someone's new beginning is about to emerge. I feel that this is really the position that someone is in. The dormancy has already begun. Quite possibly someone has had a little bit of a quiet time out as they've healed from something, and things are starting to come back online. I am being drawn again to this horse in the Sun card, because a horse does represent movement. And with this horse, I notice that it is pointing to the right, so it is forward moving. And it's quite possible that the movement started to begin around December 21st, with the emphasis here on that card being the sun and the sort of changing of the sun's direction, right? So rather than sinking down towards the southern hemisphere, it's starting to rise again towards the Tropic of Cancer. And with this Empress card, I'm almost feeling that there's something in that May time period. When I see the number 3, it always makes me think of spring. So something around like April, May. But there's echoes of it that are beginning sooner. So for some of you, you may be, for example, having movement inside of your life now. And it's just that the fruit won't be seen until like that April, May time period. There's something that is rather slow moving, and the reason why I feel that way is because the sun, the horse on the sun, is just walking. It's not galloping, it's not trotting, it's just walking. And because of the solidity of the Empress and the Hierophant card, those are very grounded energies. And whenever we have grounded energies, they're not fast moving like the wands, right? So these are very almost pentacle-like energies. Hierophant is, for example, Taurus, and then the Empress is sometimes seen as Virgo. So these are very earth-based energies. And right now when I'm doing this reading, we are in the season of Capricorn. So you have all 3 sort of earth elements present within this reading. And there's something about groundedness, there's something about diligence. I feel that for many of you, you're putting yourself first in some way, and you may be working on your tangible reality. You may be focused on, for example, a lot of you may be focused on a creative endeavor that you will have something to show for, or you may be working on your own finances, but the real emphasis here is on interconnection and how interconnection is evolving inside of someone's life. It's just right now we have a different focus, and as we have that different focus, the seeds of something new are beginning to be planted in our 3D that will soon become apparent. Let's see, let's pull 2 more cards. Okay, we have the 10 of Cups, and then we have the Queen of Pentacles. So the 10 of Cups is the ultimate happiness card. The 10 of Cups is exceptionally social. And that doesn't mean that someone's becoming exceptionally social. It just means that there is interconnection. You can even see that presented here within this card, right? There's multiple birds there because the 10 of Cups often speaks about legacies. And this can be the happy family card. That's what a lot of people will call it. And with this rainbow color, this is about how all the different vibrations have been integrated into a whole. And you can still pick certain vibrations out. They're not blending into like this weird muddled shade of gray, but they're still each an individual. So someone here, you're learning to release areas of control that you may have had, where you might have tried to keep yourself safe or needed people to agree with you or needed people to validate you. But at the same time, you are maintaining your own independence as well, where you're not necessarily there to placate or, be subservient to another person either. So this is really speaking to me about true partnerships. Here with the Queen of Pentacles, this is true partnerships because someone has invested in themselves. Again, we're going back to that theme. The Queen of Pentacles is the Queen of self-care, and that's the reason why I'm saying that. Again, we have this beautiful sort of earthy energy that's showing up. And the Queen of Pentacles here is kind of interesting because I'm noticing all that red. And that brings me back into that energy of somebody maybe focusing on their own roots, right? They may be working on their finances, their own creative projects, their own creative endeavors. And then we have this throwback to the spring again with this rabbit coming up. So the rabbit does speak to me about March. So anywhere between March and May, there seems to be a significant sort of aliveness that comes into this particular collective. And I do think that whatever it is that is coming in, it's coming in rather quickly. I feel for some of you it may have started coming in. It just may not necessarily be the thing that you're looking for, but you're starting to see echoes of it trickling in now. So for example, if it is like a friend group that some of you have been looking for, you may have started being a little bit more social. If you're looking for a significant partner, maybe you've noticed that there's a few, I don't know why I'm feeling this way. I feel like kind of options. In other words, they're not really options you would actually go for, but you're realizing there are more options than you had. So there's something like that, like you're vetting people. For some of you, you're just starting that process. You're starting the process of maybe leaving your house more for some of you. And I'm also being very drawn to this over here. The Queen of Pentacles has this globe behind her. At least that's how I'm seeing it right now. Some of you may be focused on planning travels or taking vacations or learning a little bit more about the world, maybe even becoming a bit more cultured. You may be expanding your world, so to speak, in that you're stepping outside of your comfort zone. So you may be taking classes someplace or getting involved somewhere. Okay, one more and then I'll be done. Okay, right here we have the 6 of Cups. And so the 6 of Cups is that deep soul level connection card, right? This is usually how we read it. And it can speak about childhood. It can speak about soulmates. It can speak about people from your past. I'm not really feeling an energy of past people here because we do have the Death card and we don't have the Judgment card. Judgment card is what I would require to see the past here. What I'm seeing here is more so than that. It's those deep soul level connections. So someone here, keep your eyes peeled, right? You're going to start having some opportunities to start making some very deep, meaningful relationships. Doesn't mean that you should take each one that comes towards you. Every opportunity is not a true opportunity. You're still going to have to vet and sift through people, but you have, at least now, you have the ability and the opportunity and the potential to really make some very solid connections with people at this time. So that's today's reading. I'm gonna leave this here. And if this resonates with you, please hit that like button. Feel free to leave me a comment. And until next time.